what's important is that, you got to get up, you got to show up to work because you know what? You're not really that interested in showing up to work on a Monday morning because you've had such a wonderful weekend and you don't want to have to go to bed early because you want to enjoy the weekend through and through. But we get up because we know we got Sunday football, and as a result, you got to show up Monday morning. And so for me, I'm totally fine with that. Except for when that dude sitting to your left, Molly, opens his damn mouth about LeBron James. Because I recall him talking about Kawhi Leonard being the best player in the world. I recall him ignoring the greatness of LeBron James. Now we want to include LeBron in the Jordan conversation and the Mahomes conversation and the greatness conversation. And we just gonna forget how he was talking about Kawhi Leonard until he had a oops moment and then he wants to recognize what it is. I will say this. We all know, let's not engage in the regular ordinary. We know how great Patrick Mahomes is. And right now he's complete 68% of his pass, 30 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. We got all of that. But I got news for you, Max Kellerman. It ain't always about the best player. And that's where you and I part ways. But your position is consistent because you've always said the best player. And I said, no, there's plenty of times where we knew someone was better, but somebody else had a better season because of what they were asked to do. So this is not to sit up there and say that Patrick Mahomes is not the best because we recognize that he is. But when you talk about most valuable, when I see Tyreek Hill at wide open, when I see Travis Kelce taking brothers to school, when I see Watkins and McCole Hardman and these boys balling with Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, I'm looking at a bevy of riches. When I look at the Tennessee Titans and I see what that brother Derrick Henry is doing, I ask a simple question. Would the Tennessee Titans even be in a conversation? Would they even be relevant in our eyes if it were not for that stud Derrick Henry, who beats up opponents and runs roughshod over them day in, day out, week in, week out? The brother already almost has about 1,300 yards rushing in 11 games. He's averaging 5 yards a carry. Everybody and their grandmother knows he is getting the ball. They know he is getting the ball often. They know that he's the number one threat. They understand it, and they still can't do anything about it. And it's him. So when I'm looking at it, it's not to sit up there and act like other dudes on Tennessee can't play because they can. And Mike Vrabel, I think, is a damn good coach. And I get all of that. But Derrick Henry is that dude. And I'm telling you right now, when we sit here and we have an MVP conversation right now, it needs to be Patrick Mahomes and Derrick Henry right here. Not here, right here. Derrick Henry is in that conversation because Tennessee is winning, and Derrick Henry is the reason for it. Make no mistake about it.
Derrick Henry is a great player. He is not in any conversation with Patrick Mahomes, and it's no offense to Derrick Henry. In fact, as I've quoted Casey Joyner, the football scientist on the show, Stephen A., I quote Warren Sharp, Casey Joyner, the guys who crunch the numbers. In fact, the running back returns are very heavily dependent on run blocking. Yes, a great back will get more yards than a mediocre back if the run blocking is good. But I don't care how great you are. If the run blocking's no good, you ain't going to get anything. The main value for a running back like Derrick Henry is you save a roster spot because he's as good on his 300th carry as he is on his first, right? A bell cow guy. That's the main value. It's no knock against him. It's the nature of the position. Patrick Mahomes got one loss on the season. He's the reigning Super Bowl MVP. After he was the reigning MVP, he might get both this year. One loss on the season. He's 30-2 in touchdowns, interceptions. 30-2? I didn't even know that was possible. That means he's going to wind up with more than 40 touchdowns and maybe fewer than 5 interceptions for a team that everyone knows is not just the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl. They're the flat-out favorites because they have Patrick Mahomes. You want to compare a running back to him?
I'm not comparing a running back to him. Unclog your ears. We know that Patrick Mahomes is the best. That's what I said. What I also said is that it's about the season that you're having right now. In terms of most valuable, it's not about who's best. It's literally about who's most valuable. I am making the contention. Give me a good quarterback. Give me a good quarterback. And a good quarterback can do a lot of things with all of those weapons Kansas City has, not taking anything away from Patrick Mahomes. When I look at Derrick Henry, I see no one at his position that can carry a team the way that he is carrying that team. He's not better than Patrick
Derrick
Mahomes,
Henry's run
but
blocking.
the season he's having, pay attention to it.
Okay.
Because he's coming.
You know, as a young backup quarterback, you pray to God for the opportunity to get on the field in the NFL. Because a lot of times for backup quarterbacks, it's about, catching a lucky break. Like, you just get the opportunity to get on the field. And you don't have any idea what one game can do for your career. I mean, imagine Matt Flynn. Remember years ago, Matt Flynn got to play for the Green Bay Packers, and all of a sudden, he got a ton of money because he balled out against the Lions, and he gets a huge free agent contract from the Seattle Seahawks. You don't know what one game can do. And all the time, you're getting ready for that moment, for you just to catch your break. And now you don't get it, Brett Rippon. And now Blake Bortles, a guy that's trying to get back into the NFL, you don't get that break because you can't follow simple protocol. Like, you can't be an adult and do exactly what gets told to you by the NFL. And you did let your football team down. And you did let yourselves down because you couldn't do something that you thought wasn't that big a deal. Drew Lock, I'm supposed to give you the keys to my franchise. I'm supposed to believe that you can be a billion-dollar CEO and you can follow simple protocol. I don't care if you like it. I don't care. That's what is getting told for you to do by the people upstairs. And now you missed out on your opportunity to get on the field, Brett Rippon. And Blake Bortles trying to get back in the NFL, you missed out on your opportunity because you couldn't do that. And you can't go home now and tell your buddies or tell your girlfriend or tell your wife, I just needed a chance. I never got my chance. Yeah, you did. You had your chance. I don't care how the opportunity presented itself. You had your opportunity and you blew it because you couldn't follow simple guidelines. And that's on them. And I feel bad for the Broncos as an organization that now this brings the biggest question to mind for me when it comes to Drew Lock. How can I trust you with my franchise when I can't trust you to do things that you don't want to do? And so I feel bad for them as an organization, but that's on those players. They completely failed. Those quarterbacks completely failed their organization, and they failed themselves.
Dan, someone that did not let their team down yesterday is Tyreek Hill of the Kansas City Chiefs. How could the Buccaneers allow him to just go nuts like that on them?
Yeah, Key, it's a great point, man. I think the Buccaneers, it's really been highlighted on their offensive side this year, but the Buccaneers right now are the team that we're going to do what we do. We're just, this is who we are. We're going to play man coverage. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
Like, just because you're a good man coverage team doesn't mean that you should do it against Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. And that's what just showed up early on in that game. It was like the Buccaneers said, you know what? No. We're gonna be who we are, and we're gonna do what we do on defense, and that's play in your face man coverage, not against Tyreek Hill. You don't do that. We all know that, Key. You and I have sat there on the NFL Live set and said, don't play man coverage against these guys. They're too good. And the fact that the Bucs came out yesterday, and especially in that first quarter, and did that is the reason that one of the big reasons why they lost that football game.
It's puzzling because the NFL is such a copycat league. One of the things that I've always learned is I'm just going to somewhat take what the Raiders have been able to do to them over the last two games and implement that into my defensive scheme because I got that package somewhere. I got it. I can play the same way the Raiders play, but whatever, man. So now we got Jalen Hurts taking first-team reps in Philadelphia, Dan. Carson Wentz is kind of put on notice. Doesn't mean a whole lot to me that a backup is taking first-team reps. What do you make of it?
Yeah, my thoughts are that the organization has a differing opinion on what should happen because I think that if the organization saw the situation and the players the same way, because of the immense struggles that this offense and Carson Wentz are having so far, everyone would go, well, listen, it's time for Jalen Hurts. We drafted him in the second round. And I understand they drafted him to be a developmental player, but they also drafted him in the second round. And so this would be the time and this would be the moment to go, okay, it's going to be the Jalen Hurts show, and we're going to give Carson Wentz a week on the bench, or we're going to see what we have moving forward, no matter if we win this division or not this year. But the fact that it's just, hey, we're going to give him a little bit more reps means that, or at least it tells me that there's a differing opinion in the organization. Maybe the general manager has one viewpoint and the head coach has another viewpoint, or the owner has one viewpoint and the team has a different viewpoint. Now, that being said, I don't expect this to be a, hey, Jalen Hurts got 25 snaps at quarterback situation. I think that this is going to be something where very specific third down package. This offense has been absolutely dreadful on third down. So a very different specific third down package, maybe in the red zone where, 3rd and 3 or less, Jalen Hurts comes on the field. Carson Wentz come off the field. Now we can play 11-on-11 football, or down in the red zone where we can get +1 in the quarterback run game. Again, the opportunity to play 11-on-11 football. But I will say this, and I know this is a little off topic, but the Daniel Jones injury, with the Giants, now everybody in Philadelphia is on the clock. Like, if you can't win the division this year with Daniel Jones now hurt for we'll see how long, and the Washington football team with their quarterback situation, Dwayne Haskins not playing and Kyle Allen getting hurt, and now Alex Smith playing, and then the Cowboys, we all know, if you can't win the division this year, you're on the clock because now everything has been served on a platter to you.
Dan, I know you told us what you think the Eagles would do. What would you do if you have full autonomy? How would you handle the Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts situation?
Yeah, there'd be no question Carson Wentz would be my starter, and I'd get him to play really good football. I think that Carson Wentz still is a high-level talent in this league. I said this last week, Jay. I think there's two really kind of groupings of quarterbacks in the NFL. There's thinkers and there's reactors. Some of the thinkers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, I think Dak Prescott is one of the better thinkers in the NFL. And then there's reactors, and I think Carson Wentz is a reactor. And there's some guys that are both. He's a really very much so a thinker before the snap, but he's a reactor after the snap. I wouldn't sit him in the pocket a lot. I'd get him on the move a ton, somewhat like the Tennessee Titans do with Ryan Tannehill. And I'd let his athleticism kind of marry that football team. And if you watch the game over the last 2 or 3 weeks for Carson Wentz, I can see that there is the overwhelming evidence that he is scared to make mistakes right now. That you can almost see the little angel and the devil